What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Bubba Speed Career Mode in MotoGP 20. And right now, Bubba is a whopping 19 points above his biggest rival, Mazia, and Antonelli is a few points behind him. So right now, a decent lead going into, I would say, the best part of the calendar for Bubba, going into Mugello, Catalunya, and then Sachsenring. Assen is the one after that, and that's not a terrible track for Bubba, but the next three are definitely going to be ones where he would be disappointed to not get the W, especially Mugello. But before we go ahead and jump into the race, let's take a look at some of the things we can do to actually develop the bike faster. So everybody has their own stats, as you can see right here. You know, Yuko Matsuda, Jimmy Leon, Adam Martin, they all have different stats for different parts of the bike. So frame, engine, etc. And aerodynamics and electronics are currently blocked off, and I'm kind of questioning whether or not that is due to I don't know, maybe the class itself, or you have to actually fully develop each before you can jump into upgrading the aerodynamics and etc. So I'm not 100% sure about that. I probably should research that, but I just noticed it right now. So I'll be taking a look at it in the next video. I'll let you know exactly what you can do with that. So frame and engine wise, we're already built up a little bit. Frame, we need to improve a bit more, but so far we're doing fine even without a fully developed bike. The gameplay is great, and going into Mugello, I'm feeling very, very confident about getting the W, and Bubba starts off in first place, only a couple of tenths faster than Antonelli, but one thing to take into consideration is that it was pouring rain, so of course that makes things a little bit more difficult, and I feel like on a dry track, Bubba should definitely have the advantage. This will be interesting because on the start, of course, Bubba always loses a few positions. Seem to have a pretty good one there. I think I may have figured out the timing for it, so that remains to be seen. But I think timing-wise, we've kind of gotten it, and I just think that's going to be something that's going to cost us a lot less positions moving forward. Because of course, you know, if you get a bad start in a track like this, you're going to lose a lot of ground, and you don't want to have that happen. Now, one good thing to say is that so far there is no Mazia anywhere to be found. There's Lopez, there's Fenati, and I think that's Mino up front. So, no, yeah, that's Mino. So, nowhere to be found is Mazia, and that's very, very positive for us as we try to get as much distance between us and him before we go into the part of the calendar where I'm not going to be quite as dominant. I would say going to have a hard time in Austria. The new track in Finland, I don't think I've ever done a track day there in any of the games. I don't think I've ever seen it in a video game, so that'll be difficult. It's definitely going to take some learning, but I do look forward to giving it a shot because, as we've said before, plenty of times in this series, in this season so far, the game is so good that honestly, like, I look forward to playing every single track. Meanwhile, Mazia moves up to 5th. We're going back to 3rd. We're close to Lopez and Mino. I just have to keep ourselves nice and close before towards the 2nd or 3rd lap, because I feel like because I like to add a lot of fuel to it now. It's recommended to have enough fuel for 5 laps. I prefer to have a little bit more than that. I'd say like a lap and a half more, just because I like to keep traction control and power down. Power at 2 and traction control at 3. I feel like traction control at 3 is pretty much perfect. I will eventually try going out of 2 and stuff like that and seeing if I'm actually better with lower traction control. But the thing is that the lower you go with traction control and the higher you go with power, of course it consumes more fuel. And for me currently, the way I'm going, I pretty much end each race with just enough fuel to go maybe a couple turns more, and I don't feel comfortable really going in there with less fuel. The first lap, pretty successful, and if you hear some meowing, it's because I have actually just 2 brand new kittens that have just joined the household, so I apologize if you hear some meows. But regardless, Bubba right now looking very good in first position. It's going into lap 2. Now, I've said this a bunch of times. You know, Mugello is my favorite track. It is 100% my favorite track. And in this game, it is so good to play because there are certain parts of it, like even this left and the right and the one before that. It's so much more difficult in previous games, and it's kind of repetitive because I say it every single time. It's because the steering is so much better now. It just feels so good. It feels so rewarding, and it's really, really fun to play. And this track in particular is so good because I've gotten so used to having to adapt myself even in tracks like this where it's technical but very fast, and it's just so much more fun to play now. And actually, I haven't played on the new update yet. I filmed this before the new update came out, and from what I've been seeing on a group on Facebook where it's apparently added so much more to it, to the gameplay, to the physics, and it's just apparently even more fun to play, which is shocking to me considering how much I've already enjoying it. And right now we've built up a very, very solid lead. Just look at the gap between us and second place. If we can continue to build on that, then we can actually go and conserve a little bit of fuel and hopefully not lose too much ground to the people that are behind us and actually end the race comfortably for once. And hopefully right now we're just like, the biggest thing for me is avoiding penalties. While we have a 1.8 second gap, that's definitely plenty to keep us comfortable. But like I said, avoiding penalties is probably the most difficult thing for me, because I don't know, I just seem to end up after every single race having a, I don't know, half a second penalty at least, and it's very frustrating, you know what I mean? It's just like every time, I don't know, I just feel like I'm doing very well, but one little thing will happen, I'll maybe cut it a little bit too close, but something that I would say is like is just tiny, like there's no advantage gained, and in some cases it actually you lose ground and yet you still get a penalty. It's extremely frustrating, and I have it on tolerant, but it doesn't seem as tolerant as I would like it to be. But regardless, Bubba right now sitting pretty, first position, lap 3, going into, I would say, at least from a old time point of view, the hardest part of the track, but just doing it almost perfectly. Maybe running it a bit wide here and there, cutting it a little bit too close, because I'm still getting used to how well it steers. Especially if you just have to kind of trust the bike. If you just let off the gas and not hit the brakes, then you are gonna turn, and it really is just kind of hard to get used to considering how it was back in the day. Now we're setting ourselves up for 4 traction control and 1 power, and we're gonna see how much that makes us lose some time. Hopefully not at all, but it does slow us down a little bit, and it does make things a bit more difficult. But for fuel's sake, considering there's only 1.8 left, which is not much, we need to do it, and we need to try to set ourselves up nicely for the last couple of laps. Going to this turn, we kind of ran it a bit wide, which sets us up very poorly for this one. I have to take it a little bit too slow. I don't like that, and one thing that I have been starting to learn a little bit is, back in the old games, because you could go balls to the wall and essentially not worry about banging into anybody, a lot of times I would just go extremely hard in the corners and take the lumps, as in, kind of come out of it a bit slower and sacrifice a little bit by going into there harder. But in this game, it really is about corner speed, and it really is about being better at just getting out of corners the right way. And I feel like once I get used to that and once I get good at that, it's going to be even more fun. And I do actually look forward to taking some of my skills online. I'm not saying I'm going to win. I'm not saying I'm even going to be competitive. I'm just saying, as in, like, I can actually compete. I'm just going to say I'm going to give it my best, and I will actually be recording that stuff and posting it here on YouTube, and who knows, maybe even streaming it now that Twitch apparently is allowing me to stream again. I was able to stream yesterday, so that's very, very good news. And Bubba actually gained a bit more ground. He pulled the 1.9. He's out now at 1.9, so gained a tenth. So that's always good. Or he distanced himself 1/10 of a second farther than second place. So looking good, and I just got to say, no penalties so far. That's very, very, very satisfying. Basically, just keeping it clean, keeping it good, keeping it fresh. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know why I just said that, but okay. Regardless, let's talk about the track a little bit. So we've already talked about how the gameplay itself makes every track very good. But Mugello, I've always just loved, and I've never really struggled with it in any video game. In fact, I'm going to tell you something that's kind of funny to me, in my opinion. Now, in Forza Motorsport, I can't remember if it was 2 or 3. I think no, it was definitely 2. Okay, it was on the Xbox 360. There's an Xbox magazine over here in Italy, and it's not the same as the one that's over there in the US. Because that is also here. This was an Xbox 360 magazine. This was a X-Mag or something like that. So kind of like its own Italian spin-off type thing. And essentially, they had this challenge where, in the demo for Forza Motorsport 2, on Mugello, using a specific Ferrari, if you could get under a certain time, they would give you a prize. And I don't remember what it was, because this was, like I said, this was early 360 days. So I don't remember exactly what the prize is. And I popped in the demo, and first attempt, I got the time. Now, I never actually ended up sending it in, because I think I read the magazine way after the the full game, the actual game had come out. I think I just found it randomly, but still on first try, and I hadn't played the game yet, and I was able to beat the time on my first attempt, and I was very, very happy about that. And it's just, you know, Mugello, it doesn't matter what game it is, I just always seem to be able to do well. It doesn't matter what it is. And going into the final lap, alright, so we're about to cross the line right now. Let's see, 207, so not a good, is that our best time? No, it's definitely not our best time. I think our best time was 204 or 205. So they've gained 0.4 of a second on us. Not good, but we still have 1.2 fuel. So there is a chance of us actually going to Power 2 or maybe lowering traction control in case we start to lose a little bit too much ground. So that is in our locker. Take that in consideration. And there you go, a penalty, 0.3. Explain to me how I gained anything from barely cutting there, as if I did it on purpose, first of all. Second of all, how did I gain any ground at all? But alright, whatever. We have a 2.4, so we gained a lot of ground in the first sector. Looking good. Alright, coming into, and I love this turn right here, this downhill right. It's just so rewarding. Coming out here, actually run wide, sets us up poorly for the left hand, but, you know, managed to keep it relatively clean. Lost a little bit of ground, I would say. But going into the right hand, going up the hill now, another just amazing sector. Like, everything about this track is perfect. Going into the Arrabbiata 2, come out of it just about as good as you can possibly come out of it. Plenty of speed. We have lost 0.5 though. Not good, but still looking okay. We're still secure. No need to worry. Ran really wide there. Cut it inside. Got kind of lucky not to get a penalty considering how the game works. But they are gaining. You can see on the HUD in the bottom left, they are visibly getting closer. And that's not something we want to have to deal with. Going around the Correntaio. Pretty much doing it. Blew it completely. I was about to say doing it perfectly, but turned in too much. Now I have a whopping half a second penalty, which is terrible. Able to get through the little chicane pretty much unscathed and perfect. Still 1.9, so unless we lose 1.4 seconds, then we should be fine. Going into the final corner, cut it still a little bit too close. Just cut it a little bit too much. And it's not something you want to see, but unless they have nitrous like in World Superbike 08 or something like that, then we should be fine. Crossing the line, and there you go. Alright, Bubba has definitely won this race. That's what, 2 in a row? Mazia finishes second, so he had a very bad start, but he was able to get himself up towards the front. Good for him, continuing to make things interesting for the standings. Foggia third, Migno fourth. Antonelli actually lost a lot of ground, finishing in fifth. Fenati, I always like to call him Fenati, finishing sixth. Suzuki seventh, Alonso Lopez eighth, and Vietti in ninth. So, solid race. I would definitely say it was probably our best performance so far, our most dominant performance, no doubt about that. Interested to see how we can go into Catalunya, because it's another track that I really, really love and that I'm pretty much always good at. We'll see how that goes, because I feel like that's gonna be a bit more of a I don't know how to judge that. I think it's gonna be a little bit more difficult, but I definitely expect a win there. Mazia has 24 points back, so we've definitely extended our league big time. Meanwhile, I have one kitten who passed out with his face in my hand, and the other one who was climbing on my arm, so just fucking love cats. Meanwhile, Bubba going off and enjoying another W, enjoying an amazing season, because remember last year he was struggling to win anywhere. I don't think he won a Mugello actually. And meanwhile this season, his second season in Moto3, for of course first season in MotoGP 20. That's just in case you haven't seen it, I did a whole season in MotoGP 19. Bubba's just going off. Another W, and he's looking really good for the title. I'm not gonna lie, like being at this point of the season, it's very, very, very promising, and making some money too, which is always important because you have to pay your employees. As you get better employees, better engineers, all that stuff, you have to actually pay them more money. And of course, eventually, once you get to the bigger teams, you also make more money. So that's always very, very good. And I do actually like the system a lot. I feel like there's a lot they can do with it, and I do very much look forward to improving on my knowledge on the system itself, and kind of helping some of you guys out if you end up needing help on how to develop things better, and just making this an overall good career mode for all of you guys. And I definitely always ask for you guys to let me know in the comments if you know anything that I should be doing better, anything I can do to improve the videos themselves, but most importantly, how I perform in the races. I feel like I'm just so much better than I've ever been in the last what 10 MotoGP games I've played, probably. So I'm very, very excited. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.